I do like me a good doner kebab. So when I saw the at-home kebab meat trick come over my feed, I knew I had to give it a crack. And of course, I had to try my own pita bread. In Australia, when you go for doner kebab, you get this type of bread. Nice and puffy, you cut it open, plenty of room to fill it up, and this is how you make it. Usually, I would just crumble the fresh yeast straight into the stand mixer bowl with all the flour and everything else, but today, I thought I'd take a little different route. I'm going to try blooming it in some water first. So I'm just putting the sugar in there, so the yeast have something to eat. So I'm just going to give this a little mix up. Also, I'm using raw sugar because I think it gives it a little bit better flavour. Doesn't have to be perfect or completely dissolved. Then next, we're going to crumble in the fresh yeast. We'll also give this a little mix up. Also, another thing to note, my water is at a tepid temperature, which all that means is it's a little bit warm. Not boiling or any means hot, but just slightly warm. Helps the yeast bloom. Yeast doesn't like cold things. A bit like me. Don't like the winter. It's just too damn cold all the time. Alright, so we got this mixed in. We're going to set this aside for about 5 or 10 minutes to let it bloom. While we get the big machine over here and all the other ingredients into the stand mixer bowl. I'm going to use pizza flour because that's the closest thing I have in the cupboard to bread flour. And I didn't want to buy bread flour at the shop because I had a half a bag of pizza flour. So I'm using it up. So 500 grams goes into the bowl, followed by a little bit of salt, and we'll get that mixed together. Now my yeasty water mixture, it's already foaming on top, so I know that it's alive, which it's fresh yeast, so it wasn't smelling funky, so we know it's good. I'm going to pour that straight in, followed by a drizzle of olive oil. About 20 mils. Then we're going to close this up and mix it how we would any other dough. Start off a little slow till it gets incorporated, and then we'll jack up the speed. Let it knead for about 6 to 7 minutes. I'll let you know when it's finished. So my stand mixer is having a hard time getting this dough to come together on the higher hydration side. So we're going to move it off to the side, and we're going to get in there with a bit of help of some oil. So first thing to do, make sure your bench is clean. You can get a little bit of oil on the table, a little bit on your hands to help with the stickage. And we'll spread that around a little bit, and then we'll get this dough out. All right, so we're just going to move this dough around, slap it around a little bit, try and get some more strength into it. See if we can get it to come together. So I'm having a hell of a time getting this thing to come together. Next trick I'm going to try is get some plastic wrap out, give it a little bit of oil, and we're just going to stick it over the dough, and then we're just going to leave it like that, and we're just going to let it sit there just like that for about 10 minutes. Then we'll come back and give it another crack. All right, so the dough's been chilling out for about 10 minutes. Let's see if it's a little bit easier to work with. Also, I don't want to add too much flour, more flour into the dough, because I think that'll inhibit the puffiness that we're trying to get from it. So I'm just going to add a little bit of flour on the top, just to try and help us out a bit here. So with the help of a bench scraper, I'm just going to move it around a bit more, see if we can get this dough to come together. Okay, once your dough finally comes together like this, you want to get your stand mixer bowl back on the scene, put a little bit of oil around, get that all zhuzhed around, and you want to get your dough bowl into the bowl. You want to zhuzh that around, get it all curdled in the oil, and get your plastic wrap back out, and then cover it up. The best place to stick it is in the oven with just the light on, no heat. But because the light in my oven broke, I had the oven preheated at 50 degrees. Now I've turned it off, and now I'm going to shove it in there. It should speed up the process a little. Next we're going to get on with is the spice blend for the meat. So I've already got them measured out here. All the amounts and ingredients are going to be in the description box down below. So what I'm using is coriander, cumin, black pepper, and some cardamom seeds. Now I'm going to toast these off in a pan. I also would have loved to have some whole piment or allspice berries, but I've only got it already ground up, and also some turmeric. It's also pre-grounded. So I'll add those in a little bit later, but for now, we'll get these in a pan, toast them off till they get nice and fragrant. Then we'll come back and get them all ground up. Okay, while the pan's still hot, we're going to put in the ground up allspice and turmeric, and then we'll give this a little mix around. Now I didn't want to put these on and toast them as long as the bigger spices because they probably would have burnt. So just while the pan's hot, you put them all in there and it should be just fine. Alright, then we're just going to get them all into a coffee grinder and get them all ground up into a nice fine powder. Then we just grind away. Alright, once it's all ground up nice and fine, should look a little something like that. Alright, also to flavour the meat, we're going to puree some onions. Chopped and peeled, we're going to get them in the little mini food processor and blend it until it's nice and smooth. Alright, you want a little something like that? You want it nice and smooth because I don't want too much texture within the meat. Minced meat, I'm using beef. To that, I'm going to add the pureed onions, and I'll also add in 2 tablespoons of that spice mix we made it. Also some salt. Then we just go in and mix it all up. Then you just want to get some cling film and then push it down on top of the meat. Then you just want to set this aside in a cool place like the fridge, or if it's winter where you are, outside. Let those flavours get to know each other a little bit more. Once your dough is doubled in size like this, you want to beat the air out of it, get it out of the bowl, and divide it into 8 equal bowls. Once you've got them all portioned out, you want to roll them all into nice tight little bowls. It makes the next step so much easier. Now because we want these to puff up nice in the oven, once you've rolled them out like this, just stick them back under your plastic wrap and just let them chill out for like 10 minutes. And that'll help us roll them out nice and even and make sure we get that nice puffiness in the oven. Also, I've already got my oven preheating to like maximum heat, which is 250 degrees Celsius. Now if you have a piece of steel or stone, bung that in the oven as well to get that nice and hot, because that'll also help with that oven spring. Alright, we're going to make 2 sauces to go along this kebab. The first one, it's going to be some yogurt, some tahini, about 10 ml of fresh lemon juice, some parsley that's just been chopped up roughly, and some salt. And some roasted garlic. I'm using 2 cloves of roasted garlic. If you're using fresh, I would start with a half, maybe a whole clove of fresh garlic, because it's a hell of a lot more potent. But if you're using roasted, I would start with 2. So now we're just going to give this all mixed together, and then we'll taste and adjust as we see fit. For me, that's good. And we're going to set it in the fridge till we're ready to use it. Alright, the second sauce we're making, it's a little bit on the spicier side. So we're going to start off with a tablespoon of harissa, then we'll go in with a couple of tablespoons of ketchup, or tomato sauce if you're from Australia. Now molasses will go great in here, but I've got some maple syrup, so we're going to go in with a half a tablespoon of that. Now we'll get this all mixed together, and we'll taste and adjust as we see fit. Once your dough ball's been chilling out on the bench, resting again, we're going to put it onto another part of your bench that's been floured generously, and we're going to roll this out into a 15 centimetre disc. So I like to roll it one way, and then turn it 90 degrees so we get a nice round disc. No oblong shapes here. Alright, once you get it rolled out, just for ease of transportation around the place, I'm going to put it on a square of baking paper, and then we'll get another one rolled out, and we can cook 2 at a time. As you see, got my oven preheated to the maximum temperature. Now I'm just going to slide my breads in on top of the stone here. We'll push it in, and we'll get it closed up. After 3 or 4 minutes, they should look a little something like this. Nice big pillows. Okay, so for the meat, I've gone ahead and I've split it up into 3 equal parts. If you're wondering, mine come out to 275 grams each. So I've crumpled up a piece of parchment paper. Now I crumpled it because it's easy to work with once it's crumpled. So I'm just going to go ahead and start flattening it out. Get a little head start on this process on the bottom part. Then when it's simple enough, unscrew another piece, lay it on top, and then with a rolling pin, we're going to roll this out to the edges so it's nice and thin. Okay, once you get it rolled out with the rolling pin, you're not really looking for perfect edges or anything. All you really need to make sure at this part, is that it's all even, so it cooks evenly. Which, mine's looking alright for now. So now we just go ahead, we'll just roll it, or fold it, depends on how you look at it, into a nice log. Then, we roll the rest out. Right, once you get them all rolled out, stick them into a baking tray. Then we're going to shove it into a 200 degrees Celsius preheated oven for 15 to 20 minutes. So we need a bit of greenery to go in our kebab. So I've chopped up some iceberg lettuce, and now I've got some red onions cut up. Now I like onions in, but sometimes they're a little bit pungent. So I like to cut them nice and thin, and then just wash them under some cold water, just to take away that harsh biteness of it. Okay, also to the salad bowl, Gonna add some freshly chopped parsley. Obviously, you can put whatever greenery you want together, but I'm gonna keep it simple with just these 3 ingredients. Mix it all together, and I think that'd be a nice little accompaniment to the meat. After 20 minutes, take them out of the oven. I'm just gonna let them chill out on the board here for about 10 minutes. I always like to rest meat after cooking. Okay, after let the meat rest, you just wanna get it out of the paper into a pan. Now, I did roll this too thin. It is kind of break apart-y, but the meat is super juicy and flavorful, so I'm gonna still call it a win. All right, time to build this bad boy. Gonna cut the pita open. I wouldn't cut it all the way to the bottom because otherwise your sandwich is gonna fall apart. And we'll go in with a healthy smear of the sauce, of the yogurt sauce, then some salad, and then a healthy amount of the meat, some of your spicy sauce, then optionally, a little bit of crushed chili flake. A couple of days ago, I actually bought a kebab for lunch. Let's see how this stacks up against the real thing. So while this doesn't taste like your basic kebab you get on the streets here in Vienna, it is still an absolutely amazing sandwich. I think if I've changed the spices up and the sauces like you have on the street, it'll be a pretty close representation. But if you really want an at-home kebab, this will scratch that itch.